Hello, everyone. Geoffrey Nance here with you. Welcome to another edition of Tip Tuesday, our first Tip Tuesday of 2024. So, as we embark on a new year, um, I we're just big fans and big believers in setting goals. And some people look at goals and it's almost like it's a negative thing, and it really shouldn't be. Setting a goal should be a good thing. It should drive you. It should be something that motivates you, and it should be something that's worth celebrating. Now, most goals require accountability at some level in order for them to be more likely for you to achieve them. There are studies out there that say that if you'll write them down, I mean, there's stuff like if you say your goals and stuff like that every day, you make them, known to somebody else, that you're more likely to achieve them. I mean, there's studies. I suppose that there's validity to them. But I do want to encourage you guys to have goals and to see them as a positive thing. Um, every sports team, for the most part, has a goal and they're working to achieve that goal. They may come up short, but they have the goal. And I'm going to encourage you guys to have trading goals. Now, I know at some point your goals don't all need to be just financial, because if they are, then it ends up just being like a job, like I'm just doing this to get paid. Now, that is a sense of why we are doing this, certainly. But for many of us, our goals reach well beyond that. It's not just about, hey, I'm going to make more money, but it's what am I going to do when I make more money? And I want to really challenge you guys in 2024 to set some goals and really try to stick to them. What I would say is that we're going to go over what's called the SMART goals here in a second. I didn't create these. I don't know who did. I don't even know if anybody knows anymore who, who came up with them, but it's a pretty common thing, and we're going to go over that. But part of the reason I think goals are important is they allow us to figure out where we are. Are we still on course? Are we still going in the right direction? Are we going at the right pace? Do we need to change what we're doing? Our family just came back from a trip. We have a ranch down in South Texas, and we just came back. And as we're out there and we're shooting guns and stuff, you look at your target, you see where you hit, and you get a sense of whether or not I need to adjust the scope or my aim or anything like that. And goals are much like that as well, guys. There's an old story from that I heard way back in the day about two neighbors, and one of the neighbors had shot a bunch of arrows and just hit the bullseye every time. And his neighbor was just really baffled by this. He goes, "Man, I had no idea you were such a great shot. Like, how in the world did you hit the bullseye every time?" I mean, he's just really amazed. Just kind of like, "What in the world? I never knew you were such a good shot." And the guy looks at him and goes, "Well, it's not as hard as you think. You just shoot the arrows and then you go paint targets around them." And I do feel like for a lot of us, that's kind of what our goals are. We don't really have any goals, so we can't really tell whether we hit the target or not. It's like, hey, I did this. Sure, that sounds like a good goal. Let me go paint a target around it. But if you have an actual target, then you know whether you've missed up and to the right, down and to the left, etc. You can make adjustments. But if we don't have any goals, then we don't have any way to really adjust. And so I'm going to encourage you guys this morning to make sure that you set your goals and that you start out at an appropriate level. So you might have this goal, like this long-term goal, whether you're going to make, tens of thousands of dollars every month, and this is going to be your avenue for doing that. And that's cool. And it's, possible, and people do it, but are you capable of it? Well, let's see if you can make a smaller amount consistently first. So I'm going to focus on two things here for us. Set a small goal, work to achieve it, and then do it again. Okay. So set a goal, work to achieve it, then do it again. And if you can do this multiple months in a row, then change your goal. If you find that it becomes really just too easy, like now that you're really trying to do this and it's really working, your goal is too low, go ahead and raise it up. But don't set it so high that you can't achieve it. So raise it up, set a goal, see whether or not you met it, and then move on from there. As you're going through your goals, keep in mind too that you really ought to set this up in a way that it stretches you, but it doesn't stress you. There's a big difference there. Now, the words are pretty close, right? And if I don't say them, I don't enunciate them well enough, you may not hear the difference. But find goals that stretch you, okay? But don't make goals that stress you, okay? So keep in mind, too, when it comes to whether or not you're stressed, a lot of times that depends on whether or not your goal is worth reaching. So if you have a goal that's worth reaching and you get a little, like, hey, I got to do this, but it's because you're motivated. Like, I want to go help these people or I want to do these things. Then that's not so much stress as it is motivation. There's a difference there. And I want you guys to be motivated, not stressed by setting your goals. And the other thing about having a goal is it allows you to adjust. And part of what we're doing all throughout our educational process is you should be learning, then applying, evaluating, and adjusting. Okay. So learning, applying, evaluating, adjusting. And that ought to be part of your process just constantly. Like every time you're learning something new, you go apply it, you evaluate it. Did it work? What do I need to do differently? Is there something that I can do better? Did I do it pretty well? Do I need to talk to a coach? Is there something I need to do a little differently here? Or did I kind of crush this? And I'm definitely on the right path. I'm just going to keep going this way and maybe even go even faster because I know what I'm doing is right. All right. So learn, apply, evaluate, adjust. And this is going to be your constant process, right? Just constant process throughout your life. All right, so let's go over to the SMART goals here. I'm going to share the screen here and let you guys kind of see. Again, these aren't my goals. I didn't do these. This is just something that's out there. So S, and you can write these down if you want to, or you can just search. Do a Google search. You'll find the same thing I have. But SMART is a mnemonic here, and the S stands for specific. So make your goal specific and narrow for more effective planning. Okay, specific and narrow. I'm gonna talk a little bit about each one of these. I'm not going to go into too much detail on all of them, but kind of hang out here just a little bit. Specific. All right, guys. So your goal doesn't need to be something like that's just like real generic, like, hey, I want to make money. Okay, cool, but why and what amount? So specific. And then narrow too, where I'm hitting it. I'm going to make X amount per month. And by the way, I think monthly goals are a good route to go. Now, obviously, you can have a year-end goal, and I think everybody ought to have that. You say, well, by the time I get to the end of the year, I want to do this, right? So you have a long-term but a short-term. I think they should be both, right? And we'll talk a little bit in the time-based area down there at the end. But short and long, short, medium, long, but narrow, okay, for more effective planning. So it needs to be something that you can, specifically quantify what it is that you're trying to reach, and then see whether or not indeed you have actually done it. Measurable. Make sure your goal and progress are both measurable. So in other words, when you set a goal, it doesn't have to necessarily, obviously this is related to trading, but it doesn't have to be trading related. This could be something with your job. It could be something with life, something you want to do, like with your spouse or your kids or whatever. Make your goal something that you can measure. And also to see whether or not your progress is measurable. So am I making viable, visible progress towards my goal? So let's just say I'm not really reaching it, but am I getting closer? Is it reasonable for me to anticipate that this is something I could do? Is your goal measurable? A, is it achievable? Make sure you can reasonably accomplish your goal within a certain time frame. So again, you might have a goal, but it may be a goal that once you get into it, you go, man, that could be a 5-year goal. I thought it was like a 1-year goal. For me, it might be a 5-year goal, at least for now. Maybe it's a 5-year goal. But it needs to be achievable. It needs to be achievable now. So again, set your goals smaller initially, okay? And then if you can achieve those easily, then raise them up because you know that it's not really a challenge for you to achieve that. R is relevant. Your goals should align with your values and long-term objectives. So again, this is part of your why. So why is this goal relevant? Like, why do I care? So if I'm sitting out there and I'm just kind of like, I don't know if I really want to do this month. Why should I be motivated to do this? Is my goal sufficient enough? Is it relevant enough for me to really be like, no, I've got to do this. You see how your mentality, see how our verbiage has changed. It's not like I might do it. It's like I've got to do this. And I think that's a pretty significant shift for many of us to go from I would like to I have to. But have to, and seeing that in a positive way. Like there's too many good things I need to be doing. I've got to get busy. I've got to get better. I've got to do this. So I've got to make these adjustments, these corrections, because my goal is so big. My purpose is too big for me not to get busy doing this. It's got to be relevant. It's got to be relevant, right? So that why has to be driving me, and it has to be more important than any obstacles that might get in my way as well. And the T, it's time based. We've already talked a little bit about this. Set a realistic but ambitious, and I like that, realistic but ambitious end date to clarify task prioritization, and increase motivation. And I really like that word, motivation. This is what goals really ought to do. So I'm going to close with this, guys. Your goals ought to motivate you, but they ought to be celebrated. So whatever your goals are, if you're not celebrating when you reach that goal, that's not a relevant goal. That goal's not big enough. It's not ambitious enough. You need something bigger, because goals ought to be celebrated. When we reach a goal, it ought to be something where we kind of tell somebody about it, not in a prideful way, but in a, I want to celebrate with you, especially if we have somebody holding us accountable. Like you want to share that stuff, like you're excited to share that stuff. And that's motivating not only to you, but to your accountability partner. That's going to be motivating to both of you to be like, yeah, you did it. I'm going to work even harder because I want to reach it too. But congratulations. I mean, the Bible does say rejoice with those who rejoice, right? And so I think there's a sense where we just need to be better about that as people, right? As believers, that we need to go out there and say, well, how am I going to rejoice with other people if I'm not around them, if I don't know what makes them excited? Like we need to be more invested in people. And whether or not that's goal related or whatever, just more invested in people as a whole. And so we know when they do something that makes them happy, that we rejoice with them, and that we really go out of our way, because it's just something I need to work on personally, is being more excited about things that excite other people. Because sometimes if it doesn't excite me, I'm just like, you know, but that's not biblical, right? It says to rejoice with those who rejoice, which means I need to find a way, right? It's a goal for me this year to be better at that, to truly rejoice with people, to kind of put myself in their shoes and to be as excited as they are. And so goals ought to be something that's celebrated. And I'm just going to close with that, guys, that as you make goals that are worthy of pursuit. Okay. Make goals that are worthy of pursuit, and find goals that stretch you, but also goals that you realize, man, by doing this, it matters. It matters. Like if I accomplish this goal, it matters. And here's why it matters. So again, if it's financial, make it more than financial. It's what are you going to do now that you've reached your financial goal? Who benefits from that? Is it just you? If so, I think you'll find it harder to motivate a little bit. But if it's not just for you, because most of us are really motivated to be givers, right? We know the Lord loves a cheerful giver. Like if you start thinking of it that way, go, man, every time I hit this goal, I get to do this. I get to give to other people. I get to help other people. I get to do this. Then I think you're going to be more motivated. I think you're going to find your goals are less stressful and more motivational. And that's what I want to close with today, guys. I think it's important. I mean, I like the start of a new year. I like the idea that we can change, that we are not stagnant, that the Lord is a transformational God who desires for us to be more like Him, Luke 2:52, and Jesus grew in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and with man. And I think that's always a good goal for us, to work on doing all of those things, to grow in wisdom, to grow. I mean, maybe in stature in some ways, whatever that looks like, but in favor with God and with man, just to see how can I make people's lives better. To think of that on a day-to-day basis. You talk about a goal, just say, every day I want to make somebody's life better. So whether that's a kid, a spouse, neighbor, somebody at work, like how can I make somebody's life better today because I'm here? And, I think that's a worthy goal, always, for us to consider Luke 2:52 there, and how we can grow in wisdom, stature, and favor with God and with man, and really make the most of our opportunities. So I want to challenge you guys with that. So as we kind of wrap up this session, thank you guys for being with us. I really want you to be motivated. I want you to be challenged. I want you to really feel like I'm going to go after my goals. And for some of you, you've been at it for a while, but I don't know that you've been really committed to your goals at the level that you want to be. And I'm just going to encourage you to say, man, this is a new opportunity. Every day is a new day. Each year is a new year. And we have an opportunity to start and do something new. And if you fail, guys, that's okay. Go back and do it again. Tweak, adjust as necessary, but go for it again. And realize that, even if you fail, but you get closer, you got close to your goal, that's better than you might have done. So be motivated, find somebody to encourage you. The Bible talks often about how we need to encourage one another. In fact, it tells us that we're supposed to try to outdo one another and encouraging one another. So again, you want to try to set a goal there for life. Try to figure out how you can be more encouraging than you have been, because that's a good goal too, and everybody needs it. So lots of stuff we can work on, guys. Thanks for being with us today. Thank you for joining us for another Tip Tuesday, and we'll see you guys next time.